All right, Joel. Gosh, good to see you. I'm
See you
really
too.
glad that we can make this work while you're home on a little bit of a break. Wanted to catch up about this season because I don't know if you've seen any of our posts or anything like that. If your dad shared them with you,
I have, yeah.
we've kind of been following you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank
because we are so excited and you're welcome, but really you helped out our show a bunch because we had no sports to talk about for the longest time this year. And then we're like, hey, Joel's playing football. So it became like a weekly thing.
Sweet.
Yeah. So this has been a crazy year for so many different reasons.
Yep.
But you guys had an amazing football season as a team. Let's just kind of talk about this year and kind of the process that it went for you. So you coming into this season, you had to be pretty excited because you've had a really good linebacker group at school with you this whole time you've been at school, right?
Yep.
But this year it felt like this was probably going to be your opportunity to start.
For sure. And I would say that I never really felt like until like I actually started, like I was the starter. So it was like me constantly trying to like prove myself, and I even feel like that now. I mean, when I think about like games and stuff like that, I don't think about like how many tackles I had. I think about like where I could have done better and like the missed tackles I've had. So just the process of being behind some guys that were pretty good and then being able to have that opportunity was awesome.
Do you feel like being behind those guys that were good helped you as a player getting ready for this season? Like, were they good guys to learn from and people that you worked with, or was it always kind of a competition as you're trying to find your own spot?
I think there's aspects where it was like all competition, but then there are times where I learned from them as well. And I think I definitely developed skills that I might not have developed if I were to just like started in front of them. And so like I had to like work that much harder and just like trust the process just that much more than like maybe they had to, but just to like get to that spot. And then that's like my my basics now, you know what I mean? So like when I think about like practicing and stuff like that, I go back to my basics even when I'm like the starter now, and that's like the work that got me there, you know.
So you're coming into this season, pandemic starts. At what month would you normally be going to training camp or camp, and then did that still happen on schedule, or did you have to wait? How was that going into this year?
So the biggest interruptance of like COVID for our kind of preparation is that like we did the first week, I think, of spring ball, and then we break to have spring break, and then we come back and finish it out. But after spring break, everything was canceled, so we were just sitting around for a while. Then they would like sneak weights into our apartment complex, and we would start working out and like in our own individual rooms. And we would like move it out in the courtyard and just trying to like find a way to keep getting in work. I never came home during that time, so I was just there. Like, and I think it was good because everything was like completely locked down here. So if I was here, I would have no way to work out. But like in Cincinnati, I was still able to like figure some stuff out. But
so the rules were a little bit different over there. You could still work out.
But I wouldn't say that the rules were so different then. I mean, they are now. Everything's shut down right now in Washington.
Yeah,
in
pretty much.
Ohio, it's like it's not as big of a deal. But
interesting.
Like you can still eat in restaurants, but I don't know.
That must be nice.
Yeah,
that's gotta be nice. And did I see fans at a Browns game recently? So, did you guys get to have fans at any of your games?
We didn't have. Well, we had family.
Okay.
And then we would have the band and then like the cheer and dance team. But at the AAC championship game was at home, and they let in I think maybe 20,000 fans.
Okay, nice.
Yeah. So that was awesome.
That's way different from Washington then, because Seahawks games, like, you can't even touch the area of the field, I feel like.
They have it all taped off.
Yeah. It's weird. It's so
Yeah.
weird. So that was spring ball.
Yeah, so it got completely canceled. And then we started to, like, work our way back into workouts. And then during the summer, we would do workouts, like, outdoors. And we never really had any, like, player-to-player, like, COVID cases, like where we're like transferring it in between each other. We'd have a few guys pop here and there, but it was pretty good. Then we went to training camp, normal time. Okay. Fall camp around like August 2nd or 3rd. And we didn't know if we were going to have a season at that point. You know what I mean? So we're going into training camp not knowing if we're even going to have a season. So we're just working to work and just hoping.
That's bizarre.
Yeah. So we're going through camp, not really knowing what's going on. And then, like, more questions are, like, raising up. So there was... Is it the Big Ten? The one? Yeah, the Big Ten with Ohio State, right?
Yep.
Okay. So Big Ten and Pac-12, the Big Ten was, they weren't going to have a season.
Yeah.
And the Pac-12 was just going to follow Big Ten. Mm-hmm. And so the SEC said, no, we're doing this.
They didn't
care. The ACC or the AAC said, we'll do whatever, like, we're game. And then it was basically riding on, like, the SEC and the Big Ten. Those are the guys kind of pushing it. So the Big Ten the Pac-12 followed the Big Ten, and then the SEC kind of controlled the...
When did you find out, how much time before your first game did you guys find out that you were going to have a game?
I don't remember the exact day, but I remember we held like a team meeting, and it was basically like we had to decide if we like wanted to play or not. And
wow.
Like anybody, and it's a thing where with COVID, like if you're not willing to make like the sacrifices, you might as well just like opt out because you're gonna put the team at risk. Because it was like a really big commitment. Like none of our guys were going out to bars and doing all that. It was like a big commitment, and it was a lot of the conversation was, are you willing to do this? Mm-hmm. And a lot of guys, I think we only had 2 opt-outs, but a lot of the guys were willing to make that sacrifice. And, yeah, it was weird. That was a weird team meeting. And it was kind of like if you don't want to come, don't come. Like, there'll be a van waiting for you guys or, in the morning.
Wow.
And just load up on the van if you don't want to come. And
that's weird.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's the type of discussions that you don't really hear anything about. Mm-hmm. You know, you just hear like, oh, they're playing, and you don't really think about what type of discussions. And then also how serious that is for the people, as you said, like how serious of a commitment that is.
Right.
To be like, nope, this is what I'm focusing on. Because, I mean, average college student during a normal year, a lot of partying ensues.
Absolutely.
You know?
But not for people that have like more on the line.
Yeah.
You know?
Like a football team.
Right.
That's a huge, and then you're having contact with the other teams. So it's not only your guys' staff, but theirs as well. So the season starts. At what point did you feel like this is the type of team that could win your league? Was it like a moment, or after you guys blew somebody out? Who did you guys play first?
Austin P.
Okay.
Was it? Yeah. Okay. And
getting help from the gallery over here. That's okay.
And so I mean, I don't know. You play a team like that, and you're like, "That's nice. We blew them out." But I don't know. I didn't put too much like worth into it.
At some point, you got to be like, "Okay, this is a team."
I think Army.
Okay.
Army. Yeah.
Because they were ranked when you guys played them, right?
So Army, we kept turning the ball over like on our side of the 50, and we didn't give up a touchdown the whole game.
Dang.
Yeah, and so like, especially last year, we were like really bad in those situations. We call them sudden change, and so I guess that was one of our like emphasis on like the off season, and we did really well, and so it was pretty cool to like, we're like embracing the opportunity at that point. Like we would obviously get mad, but then we'd be like, all right, we got to snap back into it. Like let's go.
With that kind of shows the strength of your defense as well, and that playing linebacker for you, that's where you make all your impact. I mean, you played special teams as well, which is a lot of fun to watch, and I want to know about a play later. But it felt like this team's defense was a strength of the team. Did you feel like that throughout the season, and that you could what was the pride level that you had to know that you guys had an excellent defense this year and that you were a big part of that?
Yeah, I think the pride kind of turned into like the standard. You know what I mean? So the games that we didn't do as well, we were really hard upon ourselves, and because we had a standard of, I mean, I don't know how many games we held people under like 100 yards rushing or even less, but that was our standard, and that's what we took pride on, is stopping the run, and I think we did that pretty well. And so our coach would always say, "You're not going to beat us in the air." So,
gotcha. And when it
you have to run the ball on us,
which you guys didn't let happen either. So,
but there were a couple games that weren't as good, you know, and those are times where it's good to see our, like UCF. They're doing really well on us. Tulsa, they kind of pounded it down our throat. So it was good to see like our offense be able to step up in those situations.
So throughout the year, a couple different things kind of cropped up that I saw. One was the turn when you guys get turnovers and the dunks on the sidelines.
Yeah.
I saw a video of you pop up. I think that was when I was first like, oh yeah, I need to be paying attention to this team, because that kind of popped up. Was that a tradition that started this year, or is that something you guys have done for a while?
We've done it for a little while now. Okay. Yeah, I think I was on Come On Man, getting a little hate for it. I mean,
really?
Yeah.
What? I thought it was great.
I mean, I could have kissed the room if I wanted.
I thought it was great. Justin and I were talking about like the style points were there and everything. We were like, yeah, we watched Joel play basketball in high school. We remember that.
For sure.
Not his best sport like his brother, but you know,
right.
You're playing Division I football, so you got bent on that one. When the fake punt happens, did you have any idea that would turn into like a national talking point almost?
No, I didn't necessarily think beforehand what like would happen, but yeah, it did.
And
definitely.
Was that a coach's decision? Was that like called, or was that something that you guys all week during practice were like, all right, if we get this look, we do a fake punt?
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
That's what it was?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, like, I can run you through, like,
the
whole play.
Let's do it.
Like, before we go out there, I asked the coach, is, like, the fake live? And he's like, he says, he gives kind of unsure, yeah. Okay. And so I go out there and we run out there, and sure enough, it's a 6-man overload. And I looked at the sideline, and I see Coach Fick. It's funny, the play, you can see on the play where I look over, and I give a thumbs up to Coach Fick.
Is that your special teams coach, or is that the head coach?
Oh, Coach Fickle, yeah, that's the head coach.
Okay, yeah.
And Brian Mason is the one that gave me, like, an unsure yeah. And he's the special teams coordinator. And so I looked over, and I gave a thumbs up, but I felt like in my head I did it longer. But on film, I guess it's like, and then I just like go to call it. But I looked at him, I gave him a thumbs up, and in my head, like he looked at me, but then he looked away and kept walking. Yeah. Like, all right, I gotta call it. And so I called it, and yeah, ran it.
When you're in the open field at that point, did you like flash back to high school, like looking to truck somebody? What was
No, I mean, I was trying to call him out, like trying to get someone to block him, but I didn't slow down for anybody to get ahead of me. So I tried to give a little move and then jump out of the way, and he caught I thought it was a pretty good open field tackle by that guy.
I thought it was too.
He closed the space on me, and he gave me no shot. I should have just ran him over.
That's what Ian, our buddy who used to broadcast games, or we still broadcast high school games around here, Ian was like, I wish he would have just lowered his shoulder on him. But it did remind me and Justin, because we've been watching you play linebacker and do special teams work and stuff. But when we saw that play, we were like, oh, yeah, we saw a bunch of that in high school when you played for Aberdeen and running people over. And were you in a playoff game Were you in that Kansas City tiebreaker playoff game? Yeah. Yeah, that was a crazy situation.
That was crazy.
You were playing quarterback at the time, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Which, that was also crazy, but it was fun to watch you like step
and
up.
And then we played Tumwater.
Yeah.
That was a long game.
Tumwater's really good.
Yeah, they were good.
Before
I got hit a lot that game. We did QB power like the whole time.
Constantly.
Oh yeah.
I understand it though, because they got a bunch of guys who went and played college football on that team, and I'm not sure. Did you play with either of the Lavals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Both of them.
Okay, so you had a couple of guys that went
Right.
on to play college football. Was it Cole? I think had a great year for Hawaii this year.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. Anyway, we'll get back into this year though.
Right.
So you're moving on. One of the things that Justin and I kept talking about on our podcast was Cincinnati's undefeated. Cincinnati's undefeated.
Yeah.
Why aren't they getting to climb the rankings? Is that something that you guys looked at? Like,
Yeah,
you're looking at
sure.
the rankings and you're like, why can't we crack? I mean, I think there's a couple teams that seemed constantly ahead of you guys who had a loss.
Yeah.
We were definitely upset about it.
Yeah.
How did you guys feel about it throughout the season?
Yeah, I think you had some teams that had like a few losses, like Iowa State, that were playing pretty good ball by the end of the year, but
That was a weird one, though.
yeah, but it was just like they were looking at the ranking of the teams at the end of the year, and like a lot of teams that we play in our league, like SMU, they were really good. They were ranked like 22 at the time when we played them or something like that. I mean, UCF, they're not ranked, but they're really good.
They're always a good program.
Yeah, I think they're like the highest rated I heard they were the second like most efficient offense in college football history this year.
Dang.
And the first one was like them a few years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like really good teams, just like not quite in the ranking for whatever reason. And yeah, I guess those games didn't carry as much weight. I mean, it would have been really nice to go in there and just like completely dominate UCF. But if you dominate UCF, like
then
they're like, oh, they're not a very good team, you know? So
it's
it's a game.
It's a weird game too. And
the only way to really do it is like have a really good year like we did, and it would have been great to have won that game against Georgia. But to go out and do the same thing next year, we got Notre Dame and
nice.
Indiana on the schedule next year. So
that's awesome.
Yep.
Especially Notre Dame, which that program's kind of come back a little bit. When you're going up against, did you notice a difference? Because so many people, especially nationally, they talk about the SEC like they're almost like NFL minor leagues.
Yeah.
Like they talk about them like they're a different league. Did you notice that much of a difference between playing the schedule you did and then playing Georgia?
Well, I mean, I didn't really think that. I mean, once you get on the field, everything's the same. I mean, what's the difference between a 5-star and a 3-star or 2-star? It's just height. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A few inches. Yeah. I mean, we went out there and, you know, you go to defeat a block and you think it's going to be completely different. But, I mean, sometimes if you're bigger, you can also almost get away with not being quite as physical. You know what I mean? So I remember going to defeat a block and I just pushed him off me, and it was like,
it just was back to playing football.
Yeah, so it wasn't that big of a deal. I'd say like they just got like really good athletes on the outside, and their running back was pretty good. He broke a lot of tackles, probably more than he should have. And
well, for you specifically, you played with a bunch of 4-star, 5-star guys in high school, right?
Yep.
When you went down to Florida.
Yeah.
That's where IMG is, right?
Yep.
In Florida. So did you know half the guys on the team too? Like, how many people do you know when you play different colleges and stuff? Like, do you have any teammates from IMG that are playing college football still, or that you played against?
Well, I mean, there's a guy, Trey McKitty, on Georgia. He was a tight end. He declared for the draft before the game, so I didn't necessarily get a chance to see him, but he was there. I played with Shea Patterson, Isaac Nada, some more guys, you know, all around, but
that's got to be pretty cool, though.
Yeah.
Like, so you've had that background, so you get into a game and you're like, 4-star, 5-star, who
absolutely
cares?
Yeah, I didn't care at all. Like, I wouldn't even look at any of the rankings for like the game before or like for the game when I was at IMG, because I was like, I could care less.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna go out and do my thing, because like on the football field I knew what I could do.
So you go into the game with Georgia. That is a tough way to lose.
Yeah.
I mean, anytime that you lose on the last second play, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Did you guys, what do you feel like, this is kind of a tough question, but as an athlete, I think I kind of know, well, athlete as a much lower level.
Right.
Put that out there before people make fun of me.
Oh, no.
Do you just go back and start thinking of different plays where you're like, oh man, if I would have done this different? Like, is that something that you have to get out of your head, out of the headspace for you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I had a couple missed tackles earlier in the game. One was, it was just a routine, like, I just missed a tackle, but thankfully, like, guys were rallying too, so it wasn't, like, a costing missed tackle. The other one was a blitz that I read out of. I shouldn't have even been there, but I got, like, a little hit on him on the sideline, and he kept running a little bit, but yeah, I mean, not big, but I just don't like, you know what I mean? And there's one play where we talked about it on the sidelines. It was like a man pressure. So if we aren't on the same page, then there's a man that's not covered.
Gotcha.
And we were down in the red zone. It was after Georgia got a fumble on us. It was like a tight bunch, which is like a 3-man bunch. And we're supposed to check Mike. That means I go. And so, like, a little bit late, but we talked about it on the sideline. I checked Mike, and the guy was like, no. I was like, no, check Mike. And then I go, and he ends up going too.
Shoot.
And then, so
then there's a guy just left wide open.
yeah, and it was like a 10 or 15-yard gain down the red zone, so that puts us in a tough position. Then they ran that one really wide, and I don't think the corner boxed it back to the help, so it's just a foot race to the edge.
Yeah.
You know?
Is it? We'll get to the fun things about that game because we were watching the game and seeing the highlights and excited to see your name called a bunch of times. But when you're watching a kicker set up for what was a 50-plus yard field goal, couple seconds left, like, are you praying? Like, what's going through your head before that play when it's for the game, last game of the season?
Yeah, I mean, you just gotta hope that he doesn't make it. Even, like, I don't know. My coaches always told me not to look back. The crowd will tell you what happened.
Okay.
And I didn't look back, and I just heard cheering. And
well, that's another thing. You guys were playing Georgia in Georgia.
Yeah.
How does that feel, too? Did it feel like a true road game for you? Like you're going into hostile territory?
It wasn't that bad, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of them.
Okay.
So it helps when there's only, I think, maybe like 19,000 there.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. If it was a full stadium, that would have been rough.
For sure. There was a couple times, though, during that game where you hit the quarterback, and I was like, man, how do you get back up after that?
Yeah.
Can you walk me through either of those plays? Or did they call one of them a fumble, I think?
Yeah. So I think on the one, I went through on a blitz, and I came scot-free. Then he ended up just, like, running out to the left, and a lineman, like, came back to, like, chip me. And then I was like, I don't know. Sometimes these blitzes will open up for me, and I just choke the sack, and I just get a pressure. And so I see it open up. The guy gets a hand on me. I'm like, oh, crap, now again, I got to go. Like, I don't want to mess this up again.
Yeah.
And so I go, and the guys were telling me before the game he does that long, like, dragged out. So I just, like, try to get a hand on it as he was throwing, and I was able to get a piece of it. I didn't know where the ball went. I didn't even know it was a fumble until after the game.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like, why is the ball going backwards?
Yeah.
I thought it was an incomplete pass, but
that's kind of what it looked like from what I saw, too. But I didn't even realize it at first until I went and checked the stats and stuff like that. There was another play, though, where you just absolutely crushed the guy right as he got the ball off.
Yeah.
I think in the pocket, but it's just...
Yeah, he did this one move. I came scot-free, and he did this one move where he, like, stepped forward, and then he did, like, a Russell Wilson, like, rollout.
Okay.
But he did, like, a jab. It was such a quick move. I didn't realize he could move like that, but I was able to react.
What about your team? Because that's the other thing is kind of broke some news yesterday, right? When you posted that you were going back to school.
Yeah.
So is this going to be a fifth year? Is this something that opens up because of COVID in that situation?
Yes.
Okay.
So I was already a fifth-year senior.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
so I'm going to be a sixth-year super-duper senior.
How does that work, though? Did you already graduate after 4 years, like scholastically?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I graduated in April.
Okay,
Yep.
cool. So what kind of classes are you taking now? Are you going for another major? Or are you going for a master's degree?
Well, I mean, the master's so I'm a geology major.
Okay.
And the program is 2 years. I don't know. It doesn't sound like it would be like most beneficiary to just like start like a program and then just like leave, because obviously I'm gonna take a shot at the NFL. So I took an internship during the fall semester. Like, I didn't know I was gonna have that another year.
Okay.
So obviously, if I had a year and a half, I'd be like, okay, maybe like I'd go try for a master's, but I didn't, and I think I'm looking to do like a couple life classes. You know what I mean? Like some business classes,
cool,
marketing type stuff. Because my dad's he's just a business mind. So
yeah, for sure.
Learning some of that stuff, and then doing thinking maybe like a internship at like a sports performance place to just learn a little bit about like training, like my body, just stuff like that. So make me better, hopefully. And something, I mean, I've always been interested in like working out, and I like to eat healthy, and so.
When you're coming back for this season, I've had a couple people ask, like, do they have a lot of guys coming back? Are you looking at a team that should be able to make another deep run where you could possibly have a season as good as this one? Or are you a little worried, like, man, we have a bunch of guys leaving after this year?
I think that, I mean, we have two guys leaving on the offensive line.
Okay.
We got a running back that was, I mean, Jared Dokes was awesome for us. Both our safeties left. Okay. And so just kind of seeing who's going to step up and just create some more opportunity. But other than that, I mean, we got a lot of guys coming back, so I'm really excited about it.
What's the process of trying to make that decision? Is there any resources? Because I know in basketball, guys can, declare for the draft and then not hire an agent and try and feel out, okay, am I going to get drafted to the NBA or not, and then go back to school. Is there anything like that for football? Like, is there any people that you can call and be like, hey, do I have a shot to get drafted or picked up by an NFL team, or should I go back for another year?
Right. I mean, I kind of gauged a lot of it by, like, my performance this year, and felt like I had a good solid year, but not necessarily, like, a breakout year, and but also, like, in the past week or two, we've definitely had conversations, or I'd just say more so, like, the last week. Okay. I've had conversations with some agents and just getting some feedback from some scouts, and just kind of hearing where, like, the draft stock is, because I don't really look at that stuff at all. I just kind of more worry about football, and everything else will take care of itself. So. Yeah.
It seemed like both you and when we're following the games and stuff, you and what was his name? Beavers?
Yeah, Beavers.
It seems like it was always you two at the top of the tackle total at the end of every game. Is he a guy that you think has a chance to go into the NFL?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah? I mean, the guy's like 6'5". He's like, I mean, at one point in the season, he's like 250, 260, like. But he doesn't look it at all. It's like so weird. He's a freak athlete, so he's definitely gonna have a shot, and the guy works his butt off. So
it seems like a normal year with a football team, it can grow into more of a family and that type of a process. Did that seem even more the case this year with all of the things that you guys had to go through with, not knowing when the season's going to start and trying to keep everybody in shape and working out, preparing for a season or not, and then having to deal with all the restrictions, as you mentioned before, it was a commitment that you guys all had to make. Did it seem like that brought you guys tighter than even on a normal year?
Yeah, I would say so. One of the hard things about, like, that aspect, though, is, like, we can't really like hang out with each other. So like
Weird.
a lot of the time, like the locker room, like me and the linebackers will stay there. We'll be the last ones to leave. You know what I mean? Just because we're like messing around, like talking. But they kind of like are like encouraging guys to like go. Like we're not showering there. We just like get out of practice, put our stuff on, like take our pads off, put our stuff on, and kind of go. So. There wasn't as much of the like downtime with each other, but I think like coming together to make that decision, and we all like knew what we're like setting out to do. It just brought us closer. Not necessarily like because we like spent so much more time together, but just like we are all like on the same path and like want the same thing.
Going through the same thing
yeah,
too.
for sure.
You said you stayed over there the whole time. Did you live by yourself in an apartment or something?
Yeah.
Or
Yep.
no roommates at all?
No roommates.
How was that then with getting like shuffled away from practice and everything? Like, are you wow, I'm just blanking on the term. Are you an introvert? So do you like time by yourself?
Yeah,
or
I'd say I am.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got my own video game room. Just go hang out and
okay.
yeah. But I mean, go get some food with one of the guys or something. But yeah.
Gotcha. Well, wow, 30 minutes just like that, and I feel
fast.
like we're just talking about this
Right.
year, and I feel like
scratching the surface.
Exactly. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this. I know that when you come back and visit home, a lot of people are pressed for time and trying to hang out with you, so I really appreciate you coming on.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me on. Appreciate the opportunity.
All right, thanks, man.
Yep.